So, I've been covering the collapse of the tech industry for several months now, and you can probably find a few videos like right there that actually, reveal that to be true. And we're seeing a lot of analysts right now talk very positively about the tech sector for 2023. Why? I don't know. I can't explain it. All measurements so far, including those that, happened yesterday as far as the tech industry goes, indicate that the numbers are, they're falling, and they're falling quickly. Some analysts actually are suggesting that even after the rough year that was the end of last year, 2022, and going into the beginning of this year, that stocks are actually poised for a comeback from many analysts, and for whatever reason, I don't believe them. You see, big tech's disaster scenario played out in a big way at the end of the last year, the end of 2022. A lot of people believe the bounce back is beginning. And if you look at certain elements within the tech sector, like Tesla, for example, well, to a certain extent, that's true. You're starting to see some moderation when it comes to the actions of the Federal Reserve. They seem to be relaxing their aggressive pace on the interest rates. I would suggest that we should expect a quarter point in each of the next two meetings, but from there, maybe it'll flatten out. It's hard to say. Some of the tech giants, as I mentioned, Tesla, have started to gain momentum again. This year, you can see that Meta, outside of yesterday's trading, was having a small uptick and had gained about 52% over, their low from last year. You can also see that Amazon, despite its somewhat flagging issues, also is up about 22% from its low point. Alphabet might be up slightly, maybe as high as 18%, and Apple may be trending the right direction as well. While all those numbers seem positive, they're still well below the highs where these tech stocks were, had been. In fact, if you look at the results from yesterday, on Monday, those numbers, they were all knocked down, just not in any extreme way. And I have a suspicion that you're going to start to see a slow trickle downward from many of these tech sector stocks. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't trade commodities to a living, and I don't have a license. I don't trade commodities for a living, and I don't have a trading license. But what I do have is the observational skills to look at trends and say, maybe not quite yet. Now, you have Dan Ives, who's a tech analyst, by the way, saying that a huge rebound is already underway. Well, all evidence to the contrary if you look at yesterday. But it's a long game, and it's a long way to go, so maybe over the long haul, you're right. Ultimately, if you wait long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float by. But this is your money, and you should be paying attention to it. Big tech share prices are well below their all-time highs. Nobody can argue that. That obviously makes them poised for a comeback. Or it maybe makes them rife for further exploitation and, either entrenchment at their low levels or perhaps a further decline. We'll have to see. There's no certainty in any of this, and there's no certainty in a return to a positive economy. No matter what is being reported, just go to your grocery store and try to buy eggs right now, or go to the gas station and try to buy gas for what you used to pay for just a few years ago. You're not going to do it. That's not a booming economy. That's rampant inflation, and we're going to be suffering under the weight of it for many years to come. Many of the analysts are pointing towards statements from Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, who has been essentially trying to quell inflation, supposedly, and he's using lovely buzzwords such as deflationary, which will hopefully get investors to return and start to invest in some of these sectors. So the tech giants are well positioned to have some form of a rough recovery. They're still dealing with a rough economy, and they've continued to deal with this by, you guessed it, laying people off. You've seen massive cost cutting in the area of employment, And I'm sorry, I don't see how 60 to 75,000 jobs in a month is something positive to point to. You've seen other types of cost cutting go on as well. And to be fair, there are other industries doing the same thing. You also have people's expectations being dropped to probably their lowest levels when it comes to, any of the products and services that they used to receive for a fair price. You have a lot of companies struggling with the idea of conveying a positive tone to Wall Street to let them know that their expectations are rather positive and not being reflected in the negative results that they've been seeing in their quarterly number. There's also renewed competition between, obviously, Microsoft and Alphabet. Both companies are having a duel, for lack of a better way of saying things. The recent AI advancements outside of what they've been working on have encouraged both of those entities to invest more heavily in AI tech. Lots of these advances driving companies like Meta and TikTok into a tizzy as they imagine new creative ways to utilize the AI features of something like OpenAI with their Chat GPT, as we've discussed recently in a video, I think just a few days ago. You're going to see a lot of companies remain somewhat disciplined when it comes to spending. You're going to see layoffs continuing for employees that may not necessarily be necessary. And I think you're going to see all of these corps set some very low expectations. And believe it or not, whether we believe to assign this to a particular company, Disney in some ways is tied to tech at the hip. And we should probably take a real close look at what happens with their earnings report on Wednesday and how things are couched when it comes to lowered expectations for earnings, because I think that will give you a lot of understanding in how other corporations are going to pursue profitability in the future. You can believe what you want that tech is headed for a rebound. I still think we're a ways away, but consult your investment specialist, talk to a broker, talk to somebody who's knowledgeable about this all, and hopefully they can give you some guidance. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.